Well, we've done some scouting around. We found this pretty good community scrape. You can see where it's been raked out pretty good, a bunch of licking branches and stuff like that. So we're going to talk about why some people hunt scrapes, some people don't, why some people hunt rubs, and some people don't. I'm 57 years old and I've hunted about every way you can hunt, scrapes, rubs, whatever. You have a limited time to me to hunt a scrape line or a community scrape or a rub line. So right now we're looking at a big old community scrape close to some thick stuff. So if I was gonna hunt a community scrape, to me, if I was going to hunt any kind of scrape, any kind of rub line, to me, I probably would prefer to try to do it in the evening because I'm always, you hear me talking about worried about busting something out before daylight. So I'm kind of leery about that. So I would rather hunt a food source in the morning, maybe an isolated oak tree or something like that, than a scrape line or a rub line or a community scrape in the evening. And if I was going to hunt a scrape line, I would like for it to be kind of associated with a rub line close to a thick area, and it's say on an old logger road in a thick spot or an old shelf or something where you got multiple scrapes, multiple rubs that are fresh, and it's early season, pretty much shortly after you know that they've got their velvet off and they're broken out of their bachelor groups. They're kind of establishing their own little area. So you got a scrape line that goes up leading to suspected bedding area, rubs and stuff like that. I would set up on that. I don't have no problem hunting that. But like where I hunt early, the rut starts early, so you know, I've only got a limited amount of time to do that. So the first 2 weeks of season before the rut. So if you got an early season that starts out September or something like that, if you can find a fresh rub line where it's rubs in like a actual line, straight line, rubs both sides, or rubs either one way that are directing toward a feeding area or a bedding area, and you can get to it without running them out, you know, I would hunt that. There's no problem with that. A scrape line is the same way. Multiple scrapes that are freshened going to a bedding area or around an isolated food source, because sometimes if it's early season enough, you can find a bachelor group of bucks while they'll be feeding pretty close to the bedding area, and they'll mess around, make little scrapes and make little scrape lines and stuff like that, and I would hunt that. But to me, after the rut starts, the only scrape or rub or anything that I would hunt would be a huge community scrape close to something isolated, you know, thick. Well, I mean, where I feel a deer's not going to be pressured that much, because most of the time a buck with that nose, he can, on a scrape, he can say the wind right now is blowing that way. If this scrape's right here, he could come downwind of that scrape 100 and something yards and tell if something is peed in it or been in it, whatever. So it's kind of tough. But another tactic, we've done this and we've had some success for it, is finding droppings or taking dirt out of a scrape from a different area and transferring it to that area. I mean, something to get an aggressive buck, you know, more aggressive to come and check it out. And a sign of an aggressive buck on a rub, if some gun's rubbing a tree and breaking them, when he's snapping a dang small sapling off, most of the time it's a big buck doing that, and he's aggressive. You know, you got bucks that got different mannerisms. Some of them love to fight, and some of them don't. But them ones start snapping them dang little saplings off in an area. That buck, you could probably try to call him and get him in. So that would be something like that. I love hunting, but I prefer any kind of scrapes or whatever I want to hunt in a thicker area, somewhere that I don't feel like they're doing it at night. You know, if it's in a big bottom with a bunch of stuff around it, thicker stuff around it, you know, more than likely they're going to come in there and do that at night. You know, green fields, of course, most of that's done at night. So, but if you can find an isolated spot, thick, multiple licking branches broke, you know, stuff like that, I would do it. But when that rut kicks off, I'm more about the travel areas. But as far as rubs and scrapes, early season, hey, do it, because you're not going to have any activity with the rut. So you can find an isolated buck somewhere that's making a scrape line or rub line, wear it out, and I'd do it.